Alright guys, welcome back to another Performance Digital video. So what we're looking at right now is Euro Japan. So this specific chart, I don't trade Euro Japan, but this specific chart is for someone in my Discord group who was asking me how would I, based on this right here, based on the setups we trade, how would I place my entries once these setups are played out, and how are you looking for that? So let's go over that a little bit. So when looking at this, the first, like I always tell you, the first thing you want to look at is we're waiting for a high and low to be taken out. And once a high and low is taken out, a major high and low is taken out, then we're looking for our two key main setup, which is an order block setup and a mitigation block setup. If you don't know how to trade these two setups or the void setup, them three main setups, then you need to go back and look at my previous videos on how to, trade these setups. So, but I'm going to show you all in one because I see actually all three of these setups in this. So we're going to go ahead and show you all three of these setups, how these operate. So in this case, whenever you're going for the opposite direction for price to sell, right? Obviously, you want to wait for a high to be taken out for price to reverse. It's pretty simple how we doing this. Like I said, ICT is built off of liquidity being taken out. And if ICT is built off of liquidity being taken out, then he always say turtle soup. The main thing you're gonna see every day, which is turtle soup, mitigation, and order block. Turtle soup is nothing but a high and low been taken out. And he always tell you the first thing you want to do is your framework. Your framework is gonna be able to help you identify the range that you're looking at, and to be able to know what your know how to trade what the next order flow gonna be, and what high and low has not been taken out. So if that's what we're looking at, and turtle soup and mitigation order block is the main thing that happen almost every day, then perfect that only. Because at the end of the day, ICT whole thing is everything is based off liquidity. So we're looking for liquidity to be taken out. So, and how I do it is I wait for the high or low to be taken out. Once I have my framework set, then wait for the high and low to get out. So in this case, once this high get taken out, we're gonna look for two or three main things: either an order block setup, a mitigation, or a void setup. In this case, we have a mitigation setup. So after this high got taken out, price, this is the new previous high here because it took out this high. So this make the new high. Why? Because price came and retraced down. So when price retraced up. So when price retraced up, right, it fell this high right here. So this is automatic a mitigation setup. Now the question is, let's zoom in on this real quick, just for y'all, for this part right here. The question is this: well, how do you know what to look for automatic for you to know that price not going up? Because when you look at this, right, you're not gonna really know that. Okay, how will I know that price is going guaranteed to go down? Where it's an anticipation. So when this high get taken out, right, which is aka liquidity, right, and price forms right here, right, the moment price take out the low of this up candle that try to reach up for this right here, the moment price try to reach for that, the moment price takes out the low of this up candle, that's automatic your entry for a mitigation setup. Now there's two ways how you can do this. ICT teaches you to go by the previous structure that's been taken out. Well, I go by the same thing but a little bit different. I go by the last candle that it broke out of, which is the last up candle. When it's going down, you want to always go by the last up candle. When it's going up, you want to always go by the last down candle. So in this case, I'm going by the last up candle that it broke out. Instead of going by this structure that it broke out of right here, I'm going by the last up candle. And the reason why I do it like that, right, is because let's say you to go by the structure, which is right here, which is this right here. You see this huge drawback you would have got, price broke below that. You would have had a huge drawback before price came in your direction, compared to if you were going by the last up candle, you have very little of a drawback. And my goal is to try to get in a sniper entry and try to get in at least of a small drawback as possible. So in this case, once price take that out, right, your entry is literally right here on this where price retracts back to. You don't have to wait for price to make a major move like this just to tap back into it. Because actually it didn't tap back into it. No, you can do it right on once the next candle taps back into it. That's your entry. So therefore, when it's like the last 10 to 15 minutes before the candle close, and usually if it's this low on the last 10 to 15 minutes of this candle, it's gonna close at low. It's gonna close. So therefore, go ahead and put your limit order before this candle close. So that way, when it's open, that means it pushed up into this, came down and closed. That means already, if you put a limit order in, Just off of this move right here, you was already in profit already, and you just let it drop. So that's the first. That is a mitigation setup, aka whatever you want to call it, a shift in market structure. Whatever y'all want to call this, this is consider a shift in market structure. Why? Because it failed this previous high and then it took out the low of this up candle right here. That's our mitigation. Mitigation form in two ways. Every time a low get taken out, mitigation sometimes mitigate back to that structure, that previous low that it broke out of, and sometimes it ties back into the last candle that it broke out of. So you can do both and see what works best for you. But the reason why I do it this way, because also let's say it doesn't, like, let's say price never tap into it like it did here, right? And I had a limit order. Let's say this didn't tap into it, but right, and it didn't tap into it. So what I do is, compared to this right here, if you to put it below the previous structure that it broke out of, right? Let's put a line here real quick so you can see. I'm more of a visual. I'm talking about. This is the previous low that it broke out of. You can see the difference of this. Let's change this color so you see what I'm talking about. You can see the difference. You'd have had a drawback if you'd put a limit order in. You had a good drawback. But if you are an aggressive trader, then take that entry. That's cool. That's fine. Take it. But me, I'm more conservative, so I always go by the last up candle. And I rather take this because, let's say if it miss it, I can easily do a sell stop order for it to break below a certain point and keep on going lower. So that's kind of why I go by that. So this is our mitigation setup. So this will be your first entry right here. If y'all want to screenshot this stuff when I finish it so you can be able to have something to reference to, then do that. So this is your first entry. Right here. Off of this move right here. This is your first entry. This candle right here would have got you in. Now let's scroll to next entry. So now, after our entries is played out, right? At that point, I always tell people, okay, hey, now your setup is formed. Now it's going in the direction you want to. At that point, your entries is off of mitigation. So you just got to find a point where price is going to be mitigating back to, which is always what a mitigation is nothing but fail highs that price constantly making new lower lows. So it's going to always go back to either to the previous structure that broke out of or the last candle that it broke out of. So in this case, right, we had price fail this high right here because this was the last impulse move that price came up before price came down. So therefore, that was a previous high of that it fell. So therefore, this is the last up candle. So in this case, if you went by the volume the last candle, like in this case, once it did it, and this is why I always go by the last up candle. You can go by the previous structure that it broke out of, right? You can go by that. Like I said, this is the previous high right here. I mean, not right here, but right here. This is the next previous when price came up, came down, and price came up right here. This is the previous structure that it broke out of, right here, or here, right here. And this is why I don't go by it. This one would have played out somewhat because you would have had a little bit of a drawback, but it wouldn't be as bad. So that's why I say it just really depends on what kind of trader you are. If you're more aggressive, then go for the structure, previous structure. But if you're more conservative, then go by me personally. Because this right here failed that. I know this is the last up candle, like I always tell y'all. I go by the last up candles. And there's some times where I might go by the previous structure. It just depends on what I'm looking at. But in this case, and also if you go by the last up candle, you can either go by the wick or you can go by the volume of the candle. So it just really just depends when you're doing this. So if you was to do this, then you would have got in on this candle right here. And for those who trying to be more conservative, if you went by the volume, then you probably would have had to do a stop order for the next area for the break out of. So like probably like something like right here or right here, whatever structure level you want to put your stop order for it to break through and continue to go down, and you'd have made some profit in this trade. And also, now I say if you was going by this area right here, right, then as you see, you'd have had a good bit of a drawback. It wouldn't be as bad, like I said, but you'd have had a good bit of a drawback. At least I know, okay, as long as price is staying below here, I could potentially see some other setups within this right here. So now that price is, like I said, is going in our direction, right? and then we want to zoom out, right? And now we're going to look at the other ones, the other setups. Also, you have this little liquidity pool that's forming within this right here that is not breaking above. So it took out, you know, the high of let's see, kind of sort of it took out the high of this, right? Then it took out, you know, the low of this candle right here. So price never tapped back into this area. So this is one of them things where you have to do a sell stop order. But like I said, that's why I would rather for it to miss my entry than to have a huge drawback, and that way I can just adjust and do a stop order. That's just me personally. But if you are an aggressive trader, then go for that. So like this right here is a low right here. So for those who's going by previous lows, as you see, still price never even tap into it. But at least you have an idea, okay, hey, you have an idea that price didn't tap into it, so I know that, okay, hey, I know that for a fact, okay, that hey, that it's gonna keep on dropping. So you just gotta find a point. So that right here, like this is an order block setup. Why is it order block setup? Because price came up, right, and then came down. So this is a previous high right here. You have to be able to see these things. This is it's not a major high, but it's still a high right here. And because price, the overall directions for price to go down, we know that, okay, hey, if I'm looking for bearish setups, then I know most likely this setup will play out. This is a previous high right here. Once I got taken out, right, it took out once the high got taken out. So this is the order block setup. Once the high got taken out, then what happened? And it came and filled majority of this void right here. Then what happened? Price took out the low of this up candle, right? The low of this up candle. That's your entry. And some people is gonna argue with me and try to say, "Oh, hey, that's not an order block." Well, then you need to go study more. I'm not gonna never tell somebody they wrong, but from my studying, this is an order block and it works out. Once a high get taken out and take out the low of this up candle, that's your order block right there. That's your entry because it took out a high. That's an order block setup. It took out the liquidity, and then what? It came down, took out the low of the up candle, and then what? Price taps back into it. So your entry is right here, right on this candle where price tap into it. And a lot of people wouldn't even look at this as, wouldn't be able to see this as an order block, but that's an order block setup. And then what happened? Price broke out this previous low, and it decides to mitigate back to it. So now you have another entry just off of that one order block setup. You was able to get 2 entries off of this. That's why I always try to tell y'all, it's not about the amount of trades you taking. If you find you a good setup, the best setup will get you at least about 2 or 3 trades. So you don't have to trade every day. Just try to find you a good setup. Know your direction. Unless you very good at understanding what order flow is. If you understand what order flow is, then it's okay to trade against the direction. But I always try to tell people, especially if you're new, if the overall direction is going down, only look for bearish setups. And y'all see how like I'm only looking for bearish setups. I'm not looking for no buying opportunity. I'm only looking for bearish setups. Even though within these price going down, there was some retracements of going up where you could have bought at. But like I said, you're better off playing it safe, only going for bearish setups. And then as price started going down, it reached towards a point to where, okay, hey, it doesn't want to go down anymore. So obviously, it made a huge retracement. So obviously, what happened? It took out a major low. So when you look this way, right? This is the low that it took out right here. That's a low that it took out. Now, of course, it came down a little bit more, you know, tapping into another low that it didn't reach to, because this is another low right here. If you look right here, this is another low that it hasn't taken out yet. That's another low that it hasn't took out yet. So, but it took out a main low, right? And then what? It started showing signs that price wanted to push up. Once it took out, and then it took out this low right here. So once it took out this low and decided to come up some more, and then took out this low right here, right? Now, at this point, you want to start looking for buy setups. At this point, because now, okay, hey, it took out a major low, which was right here. Now we're at a point, okay, where we want to start looking for buy setups. So obviously it took out the high of this up candle, so therefore your entry is literally going to be right here. Now, of course, obviously it didn't tap into it, and that's okay. Like I always tell y'all, I would rather have it if it don't tap into it. That's an easy fix. All you gotta do is like pick an area that you waiting for a price to like once you start doing this, it didn't want to tap into it. All you gotta do is pick an area like this right here. I'm gonna put a buy stop right here. If you would have put a buy stop above this point, then guess what? Once it broke past it, you'd have been in it. And at least you would have been straight in profit after this point with no drawback at all. So I always tell y'all, I'd rather do if it do miss my entry, I'd rather do a stop order compared to doing a market execution or trying to go by special market executions. That's not good. They're gonna enter you in based off of spreads. Like let's say you put in a trade right here, right? It's gonna enter you in like somewhere like above here. It depends on how bad the spreads is. So now you in this trade and you automatically in a negative because it's entering right here and price haven't even reached this point. So now you gotta wait for price to even get above this point before you even start being in somewhat kind of a profit. And you gotta go way above it, and then you'll be in profit. That's too much. That's a disadvantage of traders. So that's why you don't want to do market executions because it's gonna enter you based on spreads. But other than that, man, for the guy who was looking for this, I hope this made sense to you about this Euro Japan, on how to place your trades, how to look for yourself, and how to place your trades. Like I said, you just waiting for lows and highs to be taken out. Of course, the framework ain't done, but when you have your framework, you want to have your major highs on highs and lows that has not been taken out. Go on a month. Start with the monthly, weekly, daily, and the hour, and do your framework. And your framework is nothing but just looking for clean highs and clean lows that has not been taken out, and that give you an overall range of what you're looking for. But just to kind of show you, how this operate. I hope that make more sense. And also for those, make sure if you found value in this content, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, whatever you're trying to learn, and get better at. Comment below, and I'll make videos on it, as well as you want to stay in tune, because I will be doing live trades on YouTube. Also for those who are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, or to join the Discord group. The Discord link will be in the description below, to where you can be able to have access to all my free live class sessions for those who are trying to learn and get better. Whether you're new or not new, this is for everyone. At the end of the day, we all in this together to be profitable at the end of every month. Other than that, peace, and I'll see you to the next video.